what's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday. I think it's Sunday. It's
Yes.
Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. We are back. We missed a couple of weeks. We had technical difficulties actually last week. We recorded an entire show that didn't record because we didn't charge the microphone. Well, I say we. I didn't record. I didn't charge the microphone. So, but anyways, we're back this week. It's all about fantasy football this week. Obviously, the football season never ends in the NFL, so that means never ends here.
That's right.
Good to see you, bro.
Yep.
You ready to give us some fantasy knowledge?
I am.
All right, awesome. Before we get started, I'm sure everyone is aware the championship games for the men's and women's Final Four has been set. Congratulations to Purdue and UConn in the men's bracket, and congratulations to Iowa and South Carolina in the women's bracket. Good luck to all of you, young men and women, and probably be betting on you. So whoever I bet on, please don't let me down. Just kidding, just kidding.
I would never. Pressure there.
I would never bet on college kids. Just kidding. I would definitely bet on college kids. All right, but aside from that, we are going to talk strictly fantasy. The rest of this little podcast here, Justin is going to be our specialist because he is the fantasy specialist. I act like I know about fantasy, but I really don't. So first thing we are going to do is talk about the off-season fallout for fantasy football owners and players. So I have a few questions lined up for Justin, and I'm going to shoot him at him. He's going to give us his answers, and then hopefully you guys will comment and give us your answers after you watch this. So first up, bro.
Yep.
Who is the biggest fantasy winner so far the NFL offseason?
When we recorded this, we recorded this without audio. I had a different name. It was Gabe Davis. And I still believe Gabe Davis is a big winner in fantasy.
Yep.
However, since then, Stefon Diggs has been traded to the Texans. And now I'm going to say CJ Stroud is the biggest winner, not only in fantasy football, but in the entire NFL. The Houston Texans front office is not standing pat. They are making it known that they are going to take advantage of his rookie contract and his high level of play, and they're going to surround him with weapons, and they're going all in for a championship. And I think they did the right thing. I had to switch. And I'm going with CJ Stroud right now.
Yeah.
Biggest winner fantasy right now, and I believe the QB1 season coming in.
Absolutely. I can't argue with that. I'll say, obviously, when it comes to outside of fantasy, the only thing that I would have done differently if I was the Houston Texans is I would not have voided the last 3 years of his contract. I would have had him for at least 2 years guaranteed instead of just this year, which is a little surprising to me. But hey, that again shows that they are all in, like you said, and I do believe that CJ Stroud is the biggest beneficiary of the offseason moves that were made, especially with Stephon Diggs coming over. So
I think it was really clever, actually, of them to waive those and make it possible for him to become a free agent at the end of the year. And the reason why is because contract years always bring out the best. Well, mostly bring out the best. And Stefon Diggs is not a receiver in his prime anymore. So he's going to have to prove that he can get the bag, that he's worth every penny. I believe he's going to stay in Houston. I think they could make it happen.
I would have done a 2-year deal with a team option after this year.
Something like that.
That's what I would have done.
But I
think that way,
if
he does ball out, I know I got him for that next year, and I can either keep him or trade his ass before the end of that season's up. That's what I would have done. But again, I'm not a general manager, so
I think this will give them the best version of Diggs.
I think so. Absolutely.
He's going to have
Stroud. Good for you, buddy. I think Diggs is a big winner too. He's going to a team that has, I think, a more accurate quarterback. I like Josh Allen, but Josh Allen took a lot of fantasy value away from Stephon Diggs, where CJ Stroud and the people around him are going to take some of his value away, but I don't think as much as Josh Allen. It's because Josh Allen was like the whole running game for Buffalo, so they depended on him to do a lot.
Well, they didn't have a Joe Mixon though, and Joe Mixon is a top 5 fantasy running back. But Diggs is a winner.
On a decline.
Diggs is a winner since he did upgrade his quarterback situation,
Yeah.
I believe, and just the offense in general.
Yep.
You know, Buffalo's offense is high powered, but they do make a lot of turnovers, and Stroud did not make a lot of turnovers. No. Very, very safe with the ball, made a lot of great decisions, and yeah.
I like it. All right, flip side. Let's flip that coin over. Who's the biggest loser so far, fantasy-wise, when it comes to the NFL offseason?
That's changed for me as well.
Okay.
That's changed for me as well. And now I'm going from Keenan Allen, whom I said, you know, they're going to go to a rookie quarterback. There's another wide receiver one in fantasy over there in Chicago.
Yep.
They've upgraded their running game with a receiver who's going to take some receptions out of the backfield in DeAndre Swift. So Keenan Allen is a big loser in fantasy. And again, he's not someone in his prime anymore. He's going to be declining.
Yep.
So last season didn't really show it because he did ball out. So great job, Keenan. I'm not taking anything away from you, but I think this is a year where it's going to be difficult. But now I'm shifting to Josh Allen. He lost his top 2 receivers. He lost a bona fide top 3 fantasy receiver and a budding star in Gabe Davis. I believe Gabe Davis, as a true wide receiver one in Jacksonville, will play lights out.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen is the biggest fantasy loser. He's gonna have to run the ball a lot this year.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely going to be rough for him this year as far as generating fantasy points through the air.
Yep.
Obviously he's still got his legs, but even with that, teams know they don't have to defend the pass as heavily as they did with Diggs and Davis. They're just going to be sitting there waiting for Josh Allen to run the ball, basically. At the same time, James Cook, he came on strong at the end of the season. So, that's going to have an impact, too. It could take away from some of the running that Josh Allen does also.
Possibly.
So,
Possibly. I just not sure they're going to throw the ball to other than Kincaid or Knox. They've got Khalil Shakir as a young receiver.
I think they were saying the other day on ESPN or one of the shows that they don't have a single receiver that has caught over 30 passes in the season, in the wide receiver anyway. So
wow,
very interesting.
Josh Allen before Diggs arrived, fantasy
not good.
QB 21 his rookie year, QB 8 his second year in the league. A lot of that he was 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But he also had 9 rushing touchdowns that year for 510 yards. So I think we see a regression like that. Probably not towards like rookie season, but closer to that sophomore season where he's like 8 to 10 mark, somewhere in there. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't see him throwing the ball 500 and at his peak was 645 time passing attempts. And I don't see with the receivers that they have, I don't see that happening. His sophomore year, he threw the ball 461 times.
Yeah,
that was 120 less attempts than last year.
Yep. I think we're gonna look. You're looking at some.
It's gonna be a
performance kind of like that. Yeah. But who knows? We could be wrong, and Josh Allen might ball out and surprise all of us. Highly unlikely, though.
I'm pretty optimistic that we're on point with this, and he's gonna have a good year, but not QB1 season.
No, he's going to be one of those guys that you plug in when your guy's on a bye week.
Yeah.
He'll have a game here, because he's Josh Allen. He's going to have a game here or there where he balls out and just blows up.
Yeah.
And it'll be fool's gold, and somebody's going to sell high, and somebody's going to buy high and gets fooled. So that's their fault. All right, cool. So let's move on here. Next up. Been a lot of movement as far as quarterbacks, things like that. We know that the Steelers made a ton of changes when it comes to their quarterback room, as in cleared it out and started fresh. They signed Russell Wilson, league minimum for 1 year. Was it 1 year? I believe it's just the 1 year.
1 year.
Yeah.
1 year.
Then they also traded Kenny Pickett away after that and traded for Justin Fields. So my question to you as our fantasy expert is, if you were a Pittsburgh Steeler, if you were a fantasy football owner who has Pittsburgh Steelers skill position players on your team,
Yeah.
who do you want starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year?
Russell Wilson. For fantasy purposes, skill position wise, I would want Russell Wilson behind or under center because he's going to be the one throwing the ball more to those players. He's going to be getting it to those players a lot more than Justin Fields. I believe Justin Fields, just like you mentioned with Josh Allen earlier, he will take a lot away from those guys in his running abilities, and it's a natural thing for him. He instinctively runs when he goes through his first second read,
gone.
And does it happen? He's moving outside of the pocket and still, trying to see if he can get the ball downfield, but he does run a lot. He runs more than any quarterback in the league right now, designed or not. And if you're a skill position player and, you're a fantasy player and you're drafting a skill position player from the Steelers, you want Russell Wilson as a quarterback because he didn't have a bad year last year.
He actually had a pretty good year.
His TD to interception ratio 2-1.
Yeah,
and
it was over 2-1, wasn't it?
Yeah,
23 to 8 or 23 and 9, I believe. Something like that.
Now. Let's see.
It's like 2.5-1, I believe.
Russell Wilson last year
23 and 9,
26 and 8,
26 and 8.
Yeah,
so
3-1,
3-1, pretty damn
right?
good.
Which is far better than Kenny Pickett
with a coach that didn't even want him to play.
Yeah. He had 80 rushing attempts, but Fields, let's look at Fields here.
Oh, yeah, easily.
And Fields had
twice as many rushing attempts, I'm sure. Close to it anyways.
124 rushing attempts.
50, so 44 more.
Yeah, and that's just his game. That's his game. Russell Wilson's not going to run the ball that much.
Not at this point in his career,
Not at this point in his career. Yeah, and he's more accurate quarterback than Justin Fields.
And I will say this about Russell Wilson, and we're talking about fantasy, and we know that yards equal points in fantasy.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's still one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Get you some George Pickens this year.
They need to get another receiver, though.
They do, because they lost Deontay Johnson. Yeah. So, regardless, I wouldn't say you're starting either of those quarterbacks on your fantasy team.
No.
But if you have a two quarterback league or something like that, or if you have skill position players, you want Russell Wilson starting.
I agree. All right, I got 2 more questions for you, and then we're going to go into your top 10 pre-draft fantasy QBs. So my next to last question for you is, with the recent move, obviously, we knew Derrick Henry had moved on. He's in Baltimore now. We talked about that when we were recording, but not recording. And then since then, Stephon Diggs has been traded, obviously. So out of those 2 players on new teams, who will have the biggest impact fantasy-wise, good or bad, on their new quarterback?
Diggs will, and not just his quarterback, that offense as a whole. It's going to open up spots on the field for Tank Dell. It's going to open up spots on the field for Nico Collins. It's going to, keep defenses honest for Joe Mixon. This addition for Houston is massive for Stroud, but also for the team. Henry is going to help. I mean, let's just be honest. Baltimore's always had a good run game. I mean, they've just rotated their running backs.
Yeah, they've always had a good running game. They just always had injured running backs.
So I don't know that Derrick Henry's going to really impact his quarterback as much as Diggs will impact Stroud. He might impact the offense overall, Henry. But not like Diggs.
Fantasy-wise, I agree. I think Diggs is going to have a much bigger impact on C.J. Stroud. And C.J. Stroud had a hell of a season last year. So it's going to be exciting to see what he does this year. And as long as he doesn't end up beating the 49ers, I don't really care. They're going to have a hell of a team, man. I'm telling you.
Really good.
D'Amico Ryans. I see you, buddy. I see you. All right, last question here. Give us a couple of diamonds in the rough that we may be looking for maybe in the later rounds of guys that have switched teams.
Zach Moss. So he balled out when JT went out last year. Then he got hurt himself, but he played really, really well. He goes to Cincinnati. Joe Mixon leaves Cincinnati. He's right now, I believe, de facto RB1 because they only have a guy, Chris Evans, and another rookie that they drafted last year in their backfield. So I believe Zach Moss could be a good diamond in the rough. Not a lot of people are going to be drafting him too early,
Exactly.
but he could have a bell cow type role over there. Cincinnati's never really seemed to be a team to use a running back by committee approach. Mixon was the workhorse there, and I expect Zach Moss, if he can stay healthy, to fill that same role. Okay. And then last time we were recording, I mentioned Van Jefferson in Pittsburgh because again, they need receivers.
They got to throw the ball to somebody.
They got to throw the ball to someone, and he had some time in Los Angeles with the Rams, and then last year
he did some big plays with the Rams too.
Yeah, he did.
He just, I mean, they had Cup, OBJ for a little while, so he was just kind of down on the pecking order, I think.
Yeah,
but he made some big plays for them.
Yeah, he got injured last year. I think this year he could have a nice breakout season for him.
Problem is those defenses in the AFC North
they're nasty. Yeah, they're pretty scary. Yeah. So those are two diamonds in the rough that I like, and I just keep my eye on.
I like it.
Moss more than Jefferson.
Okay. All right, so there you have it. That is the NFL offseason fantasy fallout, according to I Could Be Wrong Sports and our fantasy specialist, Justin. We would love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and watch out for our next video where we'll be talking about the top 10 fantasy quarterbacks pre-draft.
Stay tuned. I'm going to shock you.
Be right back.